When I was watching the testimony from the National Press Club, there were witnesses that mentioned seeing objects on radar moving at very high speeds and at right angles,
Right.
which to me means that they must be dematerialized if they had any life forms on board. Otherwise, they would have been smushed by the momentum of the right angle. Does that have any implications in terms of like the soul that might be in the person? Because how can a being dematerialize and then come back?
Well, he's asking a question about objects that are moving like at 100,000 miles an hour or 20,000 miles an hour, make a right turn. Actually, they do not have to be dematerialized. What they do is that they can create, if you will, an energy field around the craft that is kind of like controlled for one gravity. And so even if and it moves with the object. So this is field propulsion, all right? So it can be moving at 100,000 or 200,000 miles an hour and stop or make a right-hand turn. Now, if you were in a jet aircraft, your brains would be coming out of your nose, literally. I mean, it would kill you. But if you have the ability to control what's called gravity control and mass control, and remember, it's a misnomer to say anti-gravity. It's actually, if you will, a mass attenuation, a reduction of mass. So using certain resonant frequencies electromagnetically, you can cause an object to become lighter and then completely massless. Now, at the point that it's massless, it's out of this dimension. But it can be 99% massless, and you will see some aspect of it. Do you see what I'm saying? And this has to do with spin theory in physics and altering the angular momentum of the atoms and subatomic particles. I'm not going to go into the arcana of this because people will be bored. But you know, we understand how this works. But basically the whole craft and everyone on it is, and around this object, is a field that's created. So that's how it can move. And they can still be fully materialized and move. Now, it may also be that they're not materialized and all you're seeing is sort of a energy form or a plasma effect. Such as when Stoney Campbell, who was an Air Force security officer at the Air Force Base in Oklahoma back in the 60s, and there was a cobalt blue sort of chevron or triangular craft that came over the hot nuclear armed aircraft that we had there. And he and the other security guards could see it, but it wasn't solid. It literally could go straight through the aircraft. But it was enough in this dimension that it set off all the alarms. So all the pilots had to go into the hot area and take off. This is in the disclosure book and in the material. So, but in that case, they were like, what are we seeing? It was almost like an apparition. Because what they were doing, they were checking out our nuclear weapons, but in a form that wasn't fully solid. And to understand that, you have to begin to understand how you can sort of change mass to where it crosses over into just energy, pure energy, which all mass really is pure energy, but that's all that's left and represented, and then tweak it a little more, and it's invisible. It's still there, and all you may do is pick up an electromagnetic signal, which is why learning how to make contact and how the phenomenon comes, it's really useful to come on one of these expeditions that I run.
Do you know if it's a semi-transitional thing that we're seeing, like maybe it's like semi-transdimensional versus dematerialized? Like, how do we know which really is what's happening when you see just that glow, but it may not be there? We just see the light that's being emitted from the object, but
right.
Maybe it's not physical. Is it dematerialized, or is it like transitioning between dimensions? Do we know?
Yes, we do know. He's asking, how do you know if it's dematerialized? If it's really completely out of this dimension, you're not going to see it. You may remote view it, and there may be an electromagnetic field effect, but visually you're not going to see it. Remember, your eyes only see a very limited spectrum. If you are seeing it, and it may be only transiently, it may only be like a heat wave effect, and you see this thing shimmering, and it comes in and out of this dimension. What it's doing, it's phasing in and out. And it can, at that point, fully materialize in an instant, fully dematerialize in an instant. And this is actually what Corso described. It wasn't in his book, but I mean, I saw it in his papers when I went to his house had a stack of papers this big. And Colonel Corso had this encounter at White Sands where this craft materialized in broad daylight, and then it would dematerialize. And when it was dematerialized, there was this, it looked like a heat wave, you know, like a mirage in the desert, and then in the shape of the ship. And then it would go click and be fully materialized back. And it did this back and forth, showing him.
All within the same dimension does it do this, or is it transitioning between dimensions as it does it?
And that's what I'm saying. It's going from 3D into other D.
Got it.
Okay. But, you know, it's like a radio waves. If you imagine, you know, the old tuners where you can turn, and sometimes you will hear two stations at once on the old AM radio dials, like, you know, where you turn. They can sometimes be in multiple dimensions simultaneously. But that, you know, this is a really advanced discussion of the technologies. But, you know, yes, we do understand how they do it, and classified programs have also experimented with doing the same thing. We have time for probably, what time do you guys have? 5:58, we have 2 minutes.